I will completely agree with you that this is probably an odd time to be making a power rankings video. We're about halfway through free agency. We don't even know the squads for like 4 or 5 different teams. But based off what we do know, I feel like I know where teams are slotted just in like the top third or middle third or bottom third or something like that. So I want to take what we know right now, put them in power rankings, and then revisit this once all the squads are formed and see where everything shakes out as we head into Black Ops Cold War. With that being said, this is one of those videos. I love the interactions, the comments, everything that you guys talk about in the comments down below. So make sure if you agree, put it down below. If there's something you disagree on, let me know and the reasons why. But without further ado, let's go ahead. Let's bring up our graphic. So first thing I want to say, the bottom 4 teams that I have right here are squads that haven't really even decided their rosters. We only know a piece or 2 of the puzzle for these squads, but I feel like based on that puzzle piece or 2, we can kind of put them where they belong within those 4 squads. So at 12, 11, 10, and 9, I have LAG, I have Paris, I have London, and I have Seattle. When it comes to Paris and Los Angeles Guerrillas, I'm not really sure there's anything that I like about those squads overall. You could probably flip-flop them back and forth, but when you're talking about LAG, right now the rumor is that it would be that World War II champ squad of Apathy, Silly, and Assault, plus Vivid. When you're looking at them overall, Assault had a pretty decent year with the Minnesota Rocker. Silly had like a .75 throughout the year. Apathy played decently, and then Vivid was okay, right? There's just like, when you look at those 4 players, everything is just kind of like decent, right? There's nothing that really stands out to me. When I'm looking at Paris, it's kind of the same thing with one caveat. The only thing that is really have me excited, or at least keying into what Paris is doing, is the potential of them getting the top AM Hydra. If Hydra goes there, I know he's been rumored possibly to go to New York as their 4th or whatever. But if he goes here, all of a sudden, I'm going to be interested. I'm going to be keyed in whenever Paris is playing because I want to see how they'll do with that top AM in Hydra. It has also been rumored that maybe Predator goes there, maybe Zed goes there, maybe Dens goes there. Nobody's really quite sure what they're doing with their roster overall. So for now, we'll just put them at 11 and we'll move on from there. When we get to number 10, I have the London Royal Ravens. When it comes to London, there are a couple pieces that I actually really like here. So we all know what Shawnee did towards the end of World War II. I feel like if you're talking about these bottom 3 squads and the pieces that are there, you would probably say that Shawnee is the best singular piece out of those bottom 3 squads and what's rumored to be there. Now, does Dylan go there? Does Alex go there? So Dylan had a pretty decent year. I think a lot of people expected him to be better. We'll see what happens going into Black Ops Cold War, another Treyarch game. And then Alex, again, decent year for Minnesota, but I feel like those 2 players have much more potential than the players that we listed for Paris and LAG. So I have London at 10, and then at 9, Seattle is completely up in the air. Last we knew, they were thinking about Octane, Gunless, Pristini, and Looney. But then did Pristini end up getting kicked? Did Looney end up leaving? That was just a rumor a couple days ago. Both of those were upset. Pristini tweeted that he was a free agent. And then he went ahead and he deleted that tweet. Gunless was rumored to go to LA Optic. Is that what broke that whole roster apart? I'm not really sure, but what I can say of these bottom 4 teams, there's no doubt about it that Octane is the best player. Now, if they make a couple moves, they could easily go up into the top 6. I feel like this is a team that's just a couple pieces away from really challenging some of those top squads. But for right now, Octane is the only person that we're certain of. So we'll go ahead and leave them there. That would round out my bottom 4. Now, as we get into the top 8, these are rosters that are a little bit more solidified than those bottom 4. If we're starting at number 8, this is one of those rosters, again, that has just one more piece than those bottom 4, but Florida is right there at number 8. I think they have a good duo there in Skies and Awakening. Obviously, Skies was an MVP candidate towards the end of Modern Warfare, so we do have that piece. We'll see what comes from Awakening. He was really good once he came onto the scene in the latter half of Modern Warfare. I think that he's a tremendous player, but do they get Pharaoh? If they get Pharaoh, now they could shoot up to 6, 5, 4. I mean, Pharaoh he has an important decision to make here between them and the New York Subliners. But even with that, we don't really know who Florida's fourth is going to be, who's going to be their other SMG. Is it going to be Havoc, or what's really going to be happening there? We're just unsure, and I feel like we need to see what's happening with that main SMG Slayer before we can really slot them in the place that they belong. At number 7, so the last team, which will be in the bottom half of our rankings, is OGLA. I feel like when you're looking at them, this is a team that could easily go up or down based off of who that fourth player is. So right now, what we do know of is we know that Slasher, TJ, and Kenny are there. We're waiting for that fourth player. The only thing that has me thinking that they could go up was that at the latter half of the year, Kenny, when he moved over to the Complexity headquarters and he was playing out of the Complexity headquarters for champs, he was just absolutely unbelievable. They were that one round away from knocking the Chicago Huntsmen out. So a lot of their downfalls this year could be connection based, and the fact that they were in LA. Again, as soon as they moved, they were playing out of their minds. So you could easily see them move up, but do they get a fourth that's rumored to be Gunless? If Gunless goes there, now all of a sudden you got a squad. Is Draza? I know that they signed Draza as their substitute, but if he's in there, I still think that that's a pretty good squad. We're a little bit unknown on what that fourth player is for LAG. As soon as we know, then again, they're kind of just like Florida. We can feel a little bit more comfortable with where we can actually put them heading into Black Ops Cold War. As we go ahead, move over to the top 6. At number 6, I have the Minnesota Rocker. When it comes to Minnesota, of course, they've come out. They've released their roster of Priesta, Attach, Major Maniac, and Accuracy. The only thing about this squad is that the roles might seem just a little bit off, at least from the first glance. I will say that I have faith in Priesta and Attach at the SMG position. Of course, Attach is proven. He's played good basically in the last, when's the last time you really saw Attach play bad, right? He's just a super solid SMG. A lot of this will depend on what Priesta can do from that SMG position, and also what Major Maniac does from that flex position, right? There's a couple of unknown there, but they do have 4 really strong players overall. It'll just be how can they transition into their new roles. And then, of course, Accuracy there as that solid main AR. This is just, it really is a collection of really good players that might be a little bit off in terms of their roles, but these guys are pros, right? The more they play, the more used to it they become. I think that this could be a really good squad coming forward, and I'm interested to see what happens with Minnesota over the course of this upcoming season. As we move on to number 5, I have the Toronto Ultra. When it comes to Toronto, their roster is basically solidified as Kleenex, Bance, Cammy, and Methods. Again, Kleenex and Cammy were unbelievable down the stretch, especially at the Toronto home series that they ended up winning when they beat the Atlanta FaZe. So those two players were just phenomenal. Methods is always that super steady player, right around a 1.05, 1.1 KD. You know what you're going to get out of Methods. And then Bance is the last player. He's probably, if you're looking for a question mark right now on that roster, you're probably looking towards Bance. How is he going to end up playing? But I feel like, again, if we're looking at those bottom 6 rosters, there's holes, right? There's question marks, whether it's at the main AR or main SMG or flex position or whatever. When you're looking at Toronto, maybe there's just a tiny question mark with Bance. But other than that, this team seems pretty solid. So we have Toronto at number 5. At number 4, again, they can go up or down based on who their fourth player is. But I have the New York Subliners. Right now, they have a filthy 3, right? With Clayster, Zuma, and Mac. I feel like they are well on their way to being set. The only person that they're missing is that flex player. The rumors that are out there right now is that it could be one of 3 people. If Pharaoh goes there, they're going to be pretty tough to beat. But it was just rumored that they might also get John, or they might also get Hydra. I feel like it doesn't matter which of those 3 specific players they get. If they get any of those 3, I think Pharaoh puts them absolutely over the top, where they're an instant contender for, going into a tournament. You would say, boy, watch out for New York with that roster, right? So I feel like Pharaoh would absolutely put them over the top. John would have a little bit to prove. Hydra would have a little bit to prove, but I think that they're both still really good players. So if they signed either of those three, I think that this solidifies them as a top 4 squad. We'll see what ends up happening, but Zuma, Mac, and Clayster, that's a really solid first 3. We'll see where they end up going from there. So we have New York at number 4. After that, we have the Chicago Huntsmen. When it comes to Chicago, the only acquisition that they had over the summer was Dashy, but still, this is pretty similar to what we were saying with New York in that Envoy and Scump, super solid. Envoy, one of the top SMGs in the game. Formal at main AR in 4v4. Formal is going to be absolutely insane. This squad is solely going to come down to what can Dashy do at that flex position. Does he show up every day? Is he committed? Does he put forth all those intangible things that we've talked about and we've heard talked about on the Eavesdrop podcast with Hex and all of that? So this squad, I think, just in terms of talent, is absolutely top 3. But will they gel? Will they play together? Will everybody bring all the intangibles? Will they play as a team? Will they listen to their teammates? Will they cooperate? That's really the biggest thing for me. Do they have the commitment that's needed to be a world champ? We'll see what happens. But Envoy, Scump, Dashy, and Formal, that's a great squad. Moving on to the top 2. At number 2, and I feel like you probably know where this is going, I have the Dallas Empire of Huke, Shotzzy, Illy, and Krim. I think their flex and SMG, Huke, Shotzzy, and Illy, is bar none the best 3 at that position in the league right now. I think what we saw from Huke, he just played out of his mind, especially down the stretch when it came to champs. Illy maybe didn't play as well as everybody thought that he would have. It's not like he played bad, but a lot of people expected him to be that breakout player, and it wasn't him, it was Shotzzy. So Shotzzy coming over, winning the league MVP last year, coming over from Halo. Those 3 are just out of their mind. I think where they might fall just a tiny bit behind is in that main AR position. I don't know how much longer Krim can do it. And I know that he's the undisputed GOAT. He's got 3 rings. He's got the most tournament wins and all of that. I mean, he's definitely got a storied past. When I'm thinking of the top ARs, you think of the Octanes. You think of Arcities running a main AR. You think of Formal, right? You think of, Clayster. So I feel like they might be just a tiny bit behind in the AR position. I think they're really going to miss all the intangibles that Clay brings to the table, the leadership, the hype, the intelligence, just all of those things that Clay brought to that squad. I think that they lose a lot of that. Not that Krim is a bad in-game leader or anything. I don't know if there's anybody on the same level as Clay, and I think that they really benefited from that. So right now, I do have them at number 2, but I could see them going up to 1. I could see them going down to 3, 4, or 5, somewhere in there, just based off of, let's see, they don't really have that vocal leader anymore. So that's why I have Dallas at 2. And then last but not least, as everybody I'm sure guessed, we have the Atlanta FaZe. And I'll tell you what, when I'm putting these power rankings together, I'm really looking for, like, where are the holes in the roster, right? When you're looking at Florida, you can see, well, they don't really have a main SMG. They don't really have a flex. When you're looking at OGLA, who's their 4th going to be? When you look at the Atlanta FaZe, watch out, because Simp and Abizi both are probably top 5 SMGs. So you have 2 of the top 5 at the SMG position. I mean, they're insane. Now you're talking about 4v4 where they have an even larger impact on the map. And then you have a flex in Celium who is the perfect flex. I don't know if there's a better one in the league. I'm pretty positive there's not a better one. They have the #1 flex in Celium. He is an absolute maniac when it comes to running an AR. He can step up. He can play fast with an SMG. We saw him do it all over the course of Modern Warfare. Those 3 are just insane. And then last but not least, the reason why Chicago was really able to turn it around down the stretch was because it went to a 2 AR meta and Arcities got to run an AR. Arcides is just a grinder, right? He's a phenomenal player. He's a grinder. He's a great in-game leader. He's always level-headed. When Arcides played out of his mind, Chicago played out of their minds. I can't say enough about that squad overall. I think Arcides is definitely a top 3 main AR. He hasn't even played a main AR. I just feel like that's where he's going to be slotted. Celium's the best flex. Abizi and Simp, 2 of the top 5 SMGs. I don't know. I don't see how anybody beats that squad, especially in 4v4, where each player has so much impact across the map. It's just, I can't wait for this to get started. Any of the comments, put them down below. This is one of those videos. Let me know if you agree, right? Do you agree with what I said? Would you move some people around? Do you maybe not have New York that high? Do you think Minnesota should be higher? I can't wait to see what you guys have on this one. So put the comments, leave them down below. I'm super excited to see what you guys have to say. Make sure you leave a like. It really helps out the channel. If you're new, hit that subscribe button. And with that, we will see you in tomorrow's upload.